Okay, we're going to continue with our third part about constructions, and now we're going to be talking about angles. We talked about segments before, which was actually related to our previous unit, and our next unit is going to be about angles, so this is going to keep going with what we've been talking about. And just like I said on our previous video, you need to make sure you leave your construction lines, you leave your angles in there. Do not erase those. Also, do not try to fake me out. You have to be using the compass and the straight edge. It doesn't look the same if you don't, and this is about using this technique. If you don't use the straight edge and the compass, that is literally cheating. You are not doing the assignment, and you have to do the assignment with the compass and the straight edge to do the constructions. So we're going to start off by drawing a baseline, which is going to correspond with this line here. And I don't care where it is, I'm just going to draw it over here. And I'm going to put a point where my vertex is, and I'm even going to draw a line for this next one just to get me started. Then I'm going to set my straight edge aside, and I'm going to get my compass out. And on this, you want to set the compass so that it's about 2/3 of the way, not all the way at the end. Don't put it all the way at the end like this. Don't make it teeny tiny like this. It should be at least halfway, something like a half, 2/3, something like that. Then, it's easiest if you turn your paper, not your hand, when you're drawing these arcs in on your compass. And then I'm keeping the same setting I had here. I'm going to repeat it over here on this paper. Again, it's easier to draw it by moving your paper than your compass. Just hold the compass steady and turn the paper. You want this arc to be bigger than the one you did over here, so you're sure you have enough space and enough overlap. Then reset your compass so that it's the length of this arc here, from this intersection to that intersection, just like that, and then copy it over here. You're going to start where the line intersects the arc and then make another arc right there. So these two inner arcs are crossing. Now where they cross, that's the same point we had on this one, and so I'm going to draw a line in. Actually, it's a ray. Starts at my vertex and goes out. I'm going to copy over the top of that with my red pencil so that I can copy the arc, the angle that I just copied over. Notice I'm not erasing anything. I'm not getting rid of my arcs. I'm keeping those. Those are part of the constructions. All right, we're going to repeat that for the second one. Remember, we started by making an arc here. About 2/3 of the way. I don't want it right at the end. It's easier to turn the paper than your hand. And then keeping this same setting I had there, I want to repeat it and bring it over here on my line here. And I do want to make my arc bigger on this side than I had it over there, so I'm sure it's big enough. Then I want to take and reset my compass to be this length from here to here. And I want to mark that over here on this one. This is why I have to make sure that my first arc is big enough so they end up crossing here. Then I'm going to draw in this line. You should be pausing the video, rewinding as you need to, so that you can actually work these along with me. I work fast because I've done these more than once, but you should just pause the video, make each little step, and then come back to the video, rewind if you need, and go forward. Now we're going to do this one where we're first going to copy over the angle, and then we're going to make a bisector of the angle. So first I'm going to use the same steps to copy the angle over. Draw the baseline, put the vertex in where you're going to have your vertex, make an arc. Don't leave it teeny tiny like this. It should be about 2/3 of the way up, definitely more than half. And especially with these bigger arcs, it's easier if you turn your paper than turning your hand. And then copy it over here onto your other paper. Again, make sure that this one is bigger than the one we had on this side, so I'm sure it's big enough. Then I'm going to take my compass, set it to this length here, and then take that length and move it over and transfer it to this one. Once I've done that, I can now draw my line in where these are crossing. And I can come back with my red pen and darken up that angle. So here's that angle made. Now I want to make a bisector. Just like we talked about on the other video, that a perpendicular bisector cuts a segment into 2 equal halves. An angle bisector cuts an angle into 2 equal halves. 2 equal halves. So I'm going to have a line in the middle here cutting this angle exactly in half. And just like we did here where I took from each end and I made an arc so that I could get where the middle is, we're going to do the same thing for the angle. I'm going to start on each one of these edges and I'm going to make an arc so that I can find exactly the middle. So I'm going to start, and I want this to be not this whole distance, which this is where I was set the last time. I want it about 2/3 of the way. More than half, not the whole distance. So about 2/3 is about good. That looks good right there. And then I want to draw a pretty big arc in here, most of the way like that. Then, keeping the same exact setting you had here on this one, you want to go and do the same thing from the other side. Again, we're looking for these two arcs to intersect in two different places. If you've done this all properly, and you haven't had any little mishaps, these 3 points, your vertex, this point, and that point, should all line up perfectly. Mine look really pretty good. These are not the most expensive compasses in the world, so if yours are pretty close, you're good. If you're off, you know, like this much off on one of your angles, then you probably need to redraw some of the arcs there. If you're pretty close, like this is pretty close, you're probably okay. Yep, that's my angle bisector. I'm going to go ahead and darken that one up. It comes right here through the middle. And what I've done is this angle on this side is exactly equal to this one on this side. That just cut it in half. Now we're going to do a couple of extra bisectors on this side to practice how to do this. Again, remember, we don't have to copy these over, we're just going to make them right on this one. Draw the angle in. And then you take and you make your protractor about 2/3 of the way. It just needs to be more than half and less than the whole way. And draw an arc. I like that arc to be about a half a circle. And do the same thing on the other side. And then draw the line straight through. Again, all 3 of these points should line up pretty close. Mine line up pretty close. And then go ahead and darken that in once you're happy with it. If they're not lining up, then you need to redo it and try again. The next one, same process again. Put this at the end. Draw an arc, should be about 2/3 of the way up. Don't make it teeny tiny. Don't make it off the edge. Set your protractor about 2/3 of the way. You should be pausing and doing each of these steps with the video. It's probably going too fast to follow right along, so watch me do a step, pause the video, do that step, then come back to the video again. And we are just copying the same thing over and over. So I'm going from each side just like I have on the last 2. And then line up your 3 points there. They should be pretty close. Mine look pretty close. Mine look pretty close here. So that's good. And then draw in your line. Now we're going to talk about doing it in a triangle. Triangles have 3 angles here, and what they've asked me to do is make the angle bisector starting at angle A. So be sure you're looking at A, that's these corners here, and I'm just going to make the bisector just like I did up here. I'm just going to start from this point. So once again, put your point at the corner. Since these are different lengths, you want to make sure you're about 2/3 of the way of the smaller one when you make this angle. I'm going to go like that. And then I want to set it so that I'm about 2/3 of the way across this angle. Be sure you are more than halfway. If you're not at least halfway, it won't be big enough. I like about 2/3 of the way. And then go from each of those sides just like we did on the previous ones. Draw these in. And it's okay that this one ended up outside. Try to get this on the right video. This one right here ended up outside the angle, but that's okay. They still should line up, and it's just fine that that one is actually outside. It's because my arcs were bigger. But still, these 3 points should all line up once again. And here is my angle bisector in that triangle. I'm going to do it one more time for this one. Make sure that this is smaller than my side of my triangle there. Repeat the whole process. Draw the arc. Remembering it's easier to turn the paper than to turn your hand. Then make the extra arc here. I do want this to be more than halfway, but it looks like I'm good. Do it from the other side. And mine actually almost ended up exactly on my corner, but that's okay, because I can still see that these do in fact line up. I really just need 2 points to make the line, and that's close enough. Then draw this line in, and I'm good right there. That's it for that part.